So Yoli mentioned in the comments that it's often difficult for beginners to find a safe space to ask questions and to discuss magic and witchcraft. And so I just wanted to talk about that today. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, please do all the usual stuff. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when new videos are coming out. And if you'd really like to support the channel, you can hit the join button. I've also got super thanks now, so if you like a particular video, you can always give me a super thanks and support me that way. All right, finding a safe space for beginners. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. It always has been, probably always will be. I think, looking back to when I started out on the path, it was a long time ago, so it's quite difficult for me to remember. But one of the benefits I think I got was that I joined a variety of different groups. And back in the day, it was Yahoo groups before Facebook and things like that. This gave me a good exposure to lots of different paths and lots of different traditions and lots of different people and perspectives and worldviews. And there have always been the ones around who come up with complete and utter garbage. And I think it's just because the internet's grown so much and more and more people find their life on the internet and on Facebook and TikTok and YouTube and all of the social media channels. It's just become worse. But I remember there were a lot of people who just came along and spoke absolute trash and garbage. The problem is when you start on the path of magic and witchcraft, it is very difficult to figure out which people are talking garbage and which people are not. So joining a variety of different groups to give you more exposure, what you'll find is that you'll get people who are educated and are invested in their traditional path who will have arguments and discussions with other people who have valid information. And that actually becomes quite valuable because as you watch these arguments and discussions, they're friendly arguments. They're not like screaming and shouting at each other, although I do remember some of those. You pick up a lot of very valid, valuable and interesting information from those discussions. So just watch. If, however, you do have a question, then ask it. And if you get ridiculed and you get called stupid, then leave. Okay, and find another group. Find other people who you can relate to. Now, there's a lot of different things we could discuss here and some difficult ways to look at this, because when you start on the path of magic and witchcraft, a lot of people, a majority of people, will be coming from a Christian background. So the difficulty there is that when we first get exposed to paganism, so going broad and general paganism, we often find that we fall into the path of neo-paganism or neo-Wicca. And the problem is that coming from a Christian background, we have this, it's been inbred in us, and then we have this mindset that what someone says who is considered to be an authority is the truth, and there is no other truth. The difficulty is there are lots of different perspectives and lots of different worldviews. And even two people who are discussing or arguing a point could probably be arguing the same point. The only difference is that they're using different terminology. If they actually sat down and tried to understand what terminology or understand how the other person understood and used that terminology, they probably know that there's no argument to be had as they're both talking about the same thing. But this happens. And, a beginner will see this and they'll watch it. But coming onto a path of neo-paganism or neo-Wicca, we come across information which is just one worldview. And then when somebody else comes along and contradicts that, they're wrong. They're not necessarily wrong. It just means that they have a different perspective. So keep yourself open to lots of different information. And a lot of that information is going to be contradictory. And unfortunately, some of it is going to be trash. I am going to be doing a don't read list, and I'll be reviewing books and websites and things that really shouldn't have been written in the first place. It is, the information is so far out there or so wrong that really it just shouldn't have been written in the first place. Or, how people are publishing these books, I don't know. And with the whole self-publishing craze that's happened over the past several years, I love self-publishing. I think it's brilliant. I think that it's fantastic that people can get their information out there without having to go through the traditional publishing route. But unfortunately, it also comes with its downside of a lot of people who are just publishing rubbish. So I'm going to be doing a don't read list. This may also include groups and things like that you should probably avoid as a beginner. But it's going to be mostly focused on books, websites, YouTube channels that come along and things like that. So if you do have anything that you want me to review, just give me a shout and I'll review it. And if I think it needs to be on the don't read list, I'll put it on and I'll talk about it on this channel. Also, if you do want a safe space, there is the Wildwood Temple, which we run. You'll find it on a Discord server. Discord server is probably the best one to go join, and it's easy to use. I know older folk like me who are used to Facebook kind of look at Discord and go, that looks complicated. It is actually really, really easy. So don't be afraid to go and join the Discord server. There's some great discussions that take place on there. It is still small, so it is fairly quiet, but if you do have a question, ask it. Nobody has ridiculed anybody else up to this point, and if they do, they will get smashed. So it is definitely a safe space for everybody. But when it comes to Facebook groups and Discord servers and all of these discussion groups that happen online, they have grown a lot, and you may come across a group which has several thousand people on it. Unfortunately, with so many people, it becomes difficult to moderate such a group, but at the same time, you are going to be exposed to a lot of different worldviews and perspectives, which is a good thing. At the same time, there are a lot of people who are dicks. There are a lot of people who are going to be talking total and utter rubbish, and they believe this stuff. That's the most difficult thing, is they completely believe it. I mean, when it comes to mythology and history and things like that, that can be fact-checked. So you can actually go back and you can check the facts that people are talking about. So if somebody says X, Y, and Z about a particular god in a particular pantheon, and you can go back and you can check sources which are valid and which have been qualified. It's probably the best word to use here, qualified. And you find that they are talking absolute rubbish, it's as simple as that. But when it comes to more personal stuff, especially unverified personal gnosis, UPG, people have experiences with spirit. They are taught particular things and they share those things. And sometimes that is unverified. It only becomes verified when a group of people have the same experience, get the same information, or it is a particular thing which can be tested by various people and the results are positive. But until that point, it's unverified, and it doesn't mean it's wrong. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. So you really need to take that information and test it, put it through the mill, give it all of the testing you need, speak to other people about it who have been practicing for a long time and find out their opinion. Some of them may say it's crap, some of them may say, yep, they've experienced the same thing. So it's difficult, especially when it comes to UPG, to know which is right and which is wrong. But even when we get into books and websites and information which people are giving, a beginner could pick up a book and read this, and that becomes their Bible, that becomes their view, that becomes their education, their knowledge. And if it's total rubbish, unfortunately, they've started on the wrong footing. But when they pick up the next book and it completely contradicts this one, then they often just reject that one, thinking that this is the truth, this is the facts. And this is why I say you've got to stay open, get as many different viewpoints as you can, and then put them all together and check. Go back to my video that I did several weeks back. Check, double check, and triple check everything. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if they call themselves a guru, or community calls them a guru, or it's somebody who has published so many books that they are considered to be an authority on the topic. You check, you double check, and you triple check all of the information that anybody gives you, or anything you read. But when it comes to, reading books, and somebody who has just started on the path, if they pick up a book or start watching a YouTube channel and the information is complete trash, quite often, because they have usually come from a Christian worldview and a Christian mindset, they consider this person to be an authority, and therefore they are right and everybody else is wrong. Stay open. When you are studying a topic, read 10, 20 different authors and get different perspectives on that topic, and then put them all together and find out what is true and really delve into it. And that's really the only way you can know if something's right or something's wrong. The other way is to find somebody you trust, who is valid, who has valid information. But even there, you could come across somebody who is considered to be an authority, who you feel you can trust, but the information is absolute garbage. Unfortunately, those who get the loudest or have the loudest voice seem to get the most traction. And those who have the loudest voice are usually, well, not usually, but sometimes the ones who are talking rubbish. It's the people who are quiet in the background and really got their heads down and studying stuff that you should probably be talking to. But yeah, as I say, it's always been difficult. It always will be difficult, because it's just the way the world turns, I suppose. All right, so what do you do? Let's try and get this into a nutshell. What you do is get as many viewpoints as you can, put them all together, see what becomes true and what isn't true. You'll start to pick up, if you just carry on, you'll start to pick up what is true. And you can fact check with qualified information, with qualified authors, qualified people who have been around for a long time, who have been noted as valid. It's not that easy to find sometimes, but I mean, even if you go into some of the older stuff, there's some rubbish in there as well. But check the facts, check the information. Find somebody you think you can trust. If it turns out you cannot trust them, then leave. Go and find somebody else. But always keep yourself open to different perspectives and different worldviews and different information, even if it contradicts. Take it, test it. If it doesn't work, reject it. If it does, keep it. Okay? And then if you are in a group and you ask a question, a very broad question, and this is specifically for people who are on these groups who do this. If somebody comes along who is a complete beginner and says, where do I start? Don't just say, Google, read a book. Direct them to something which is valid. Okay? Ask them what they're interested in. Maybe they're interested in crystals. Maybe you're not. That's fine. There's plenty of information out there about crystals. If you've been practicing for a long time, you probably would have come across that information. Doesn't mean you have to be interested in it, but you've probably come across some valid information, and you can direct them to that. It doesn't matter what they're interested in. Find out what they're interested in first. Don't just say, oh, go and read this book on ceremonial magic because you're interested in ceremonial magic. They may not be. But so find out what they're interested in and then direct them to proper information. Recommend a book, recommend a website, recommend a YouTube channel. Something that would interest them, that can help them to get a footing. And that's why I actually wrote The Reality of Things. In the smallest space possible, I try to bring different information from different traditions and paths. So there's some ceremonial magic in there, there's some Wicca, there's some traditional witchcraft. Just pulling bits and pieces from different areas to give a good exposure to different things. And the intention was that as the person is reading the book, they become drawn to or more attracted to a particular path. That gives them a direction to actually move in. So as I said, find out what they're interested in and then give them a recommendation of what to read. Don't just say, go Google how to become a witch, or just go read a book. It's useless information. It's like having somebody being faced with a brick wall and all you're doing is just slamming their face into it. So don't be a dick. Simple as that, really. If somebody's new, they don't know which direction to take, they don't know where to put their foot next, and you've been there. We've all been there. We've all been in that position where we don't know where to turn, we don't know what to do, we don't know who to listen to, we don't know what books to read. So don't ridicule, don't call anybody stupid, because I've seen that a lot. It happens. And if it happened to you, I'm sorry, but don't do it to other people. And give them proper information, give them some kind of direction where they can actually start, they can take the next step. And it's fearful for these people. Sometimes it's terrifying for people. They've come from this one worldview which views witchcraft as completely evil, but they've found something in it which speaks to them, but they're still going to have that fear. So sometimes for these people it is completely terrifying to actually come onto this path to begin with, but they're taking that step, which is incredibly brave. And then they come along and say, how do I start? And somebody comes on onto the comments and goes, oh, don't be stupid, don't be an idiot, just go read a book. I mean, fuck, seriously? All right, so this is my rant for the week, I think. Okay, so when you're beginning, try and find somebody who can actually help you. And if you come across information that you're not sure about, you can go to that person, you can say, do you think this is valid? And they'll give you their opinion. If you can find more than one person that you trust, then you can get different opinions on a particular topic, then that's even better. But yeah, try and find qualified sources, try and find somebody you trust, and double check and triple check information. And if anybody ridicules you, tell them to piss off. And if an entire group is ridiculing you, leave and find another group, find someone else. I will be doing my don't read list, and I do suggest joining a Wildwood Temple. You can ask any question you want on there. The link will be in the icon. The eye. I don't know which side it is. It's in one of these corners. Just click the eye. You'll see a link to the Wildwood Temple on the Discord server. Alright, so I'm going to stop ranting and raving. And I'll see you next week. If you've got any questions, then just ask them in the comments. And I will see you next week. Have a good one. Cheers for now.